Hello and welcome to Worst Quality Crap, a podcast of Asian American stories and recipes from best quality hearts. I'm your host, Frisia Lee. Joining me as always is my husband and producer, Sam.
Hello.
On this episode, we are so lucky to have this guest join us. She's an LA-based mom of two boys, entrepreneur, and attorney. I don't know how that is all possible in one person. What's That is her first children's book, and she is the founder of Gloo Books, a children's publishing company creating books for a more inclusive, just, and compassionate future. Karen Chan. Hi, Karen.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
We're so happy you're here. I'm so happy you're here.
I'm excited about this.
Me too. I feel like this is, in a weird way, like a little dream get that I didn't know that I had. Because I think we discovered some of the books under Gloo probably over a year ago. And I was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with this company. Like, I love everything they do. How do we get there? And then it happened in this beautiful, organic, community-driven way.
It did. It was very, kismet that we met.
Yeah. Yay. Karen, do you have a dish for us? We don't actually know.
There weren't any parameters around the dish, so I kind of was, okay, yeah, it was very open-ended because sometimes I feel like people are like, what's the dish that reminds you of home? Or what's your favorite dish?
No, for new listeners, the parameters of this show are, what is a dish that you ate as a child that makes you nostalgic in any way? It doesn't have to be Asian. We have, some guests are like, I don't have a good Asian one. That was me, actually. I was that guest. Doesn't even necessarily have to be a cooked thing. Could be a snack. Yeah, we've had snacks. Sometimes it's a made-up thing. A lot of time, or we prefer made-up things. Or we want more of those. So yes, no parameters.
Back into the mix. I was like, originally I had a cooked dish in my head. Do I change it on the fly?
I don't know. You could listen. We have a long time. We could talk about a lot of things.
We could workshop it too.
We can workshop it.
Oh my gosh. You know what? Because we have this, Taiwanese food has been on my mind because we have this book, Very Asian Guide to Taiwanese Food, coming out.
Mm-hmm. It's excellent.
And we're doing a lot of promo around it. So I'm just thinking about Taiwanese food constantly.
Yes.
I would say I'm switching my dish to snack. But tea eggs.
So, yeah. Talk about tea.
At the convenience stores in Taiwan, and I would feel sick after, but I could probably eat like 4 of them. Like they're just so good. For anyone who doesn't know what tea eggs are, they're hard-boiled eggs that are cracked so that the liquid that they're soaking in, this like tea mixture, flavors the actual egg inside. And it's a mixture of spices, tea, soy sauce, and almost every convenience store in Taiwan has like a little pot of bobbing tea eggs in there. And like the smell, you walk into like a convenience store and that smell, that air conditioning and the smell of like tea eggs just like hits you in the face. So I would say that's a very nostalgic thing for me.
Where were you eating these? When were you what makes it nostalgic? In Taiwan?
Yes.
So okay.
My parents, they both grew up in Taiwan. My mom was actually born in China and came over when everyone fled the communists.
Good move.
Yeah. And so I grew up spending a lot of time in Taiwan when my grandparents were still around. And I think like most of their families had already immigrated. Like most of my aunts and uncles were part of that wave of immigration in the 70s that came to the US. So a lot of like my cousins and aunts and uncles, a small handful remained in Taiwan, but really it was like my grandparents on my dad's side who was still there. And so, yeah, we would go there and visit during the summers in the oppressive heat. There's just like a lot of good memories of being in, my grandparents' home and eating these tea eggs. Obviously, you can get them like anywhere. The smells, everything, it kind of just like brings it all back. So I rarely make them. I should because they're great. You just boil them. They keep in the fridge for a while and they just get more flavorful as you let them steep. I don't know why I haven't. I should make some.
Well, I know where you can find a recipe.
That's right.
A Very Asian Guide to Taiwanese Food. Just FYI, plug a book.
It's a very kid-friendly recipe, so for those with kids.
Yes, actually, I was thinking about tea eggs. Spoiler listeners, we record things out of order, and I think we're going to talk. This one goes before when we have the author and illustrator of that book on a different episode. But in reading the book, it really got me thinking about tea eggs and also ramen eggs because my sister-in-law will make them and just have them on hand. We had a whole thing about when you buy 5 dozen eggs at Costco, what do you do with them? Or in her case, sometimes they have 10 dozen. So what do you do with them? Ramen eggs, tea eggs. I'm thinking about Korean drug eggs.
Ooh.
And everyone's like, everything is so simple. And I never make any of them. And so then when I saw the recipe in A Very Asian Guide to Taiwanese Food, I thought, oh, it's right in front of me. I should probably try this.
Yes, absolutely. And it's really cool because like it looks really fun. So even as a kid, I mean, they kind of look like, I would call them dragon eggs. I know what a dragon egg looks like. It has that sort of marbled, kind of crackled lining and effect on the egg itself. So it looks pretty.
It's like eating your Easter eggs after Easter, but all of the time and delicious.
Yeah.
Like actually flavored.
Yeah, exactly.
Why don't you make them now?
I don't know. I think it was just something where I was like, I forgot about it. I don't know. It's always a convenience thing. It was always like you pick it up at the convenience store. Like that was always the context. So I had made it a long time ago and it just, I always have like a whole catalog of recipes kind of that I cycle through. It depends on sort of like what we have on hand, what the kids are into. And it just sort of fell out of rotation and I like forgot about it, but I'm glad we talked about it because now I'm bringing it back.
Have the kids had them?
I don't even think they have. I think the last time we made them at home, I probably didn't even have kids.
Karen.
I know.
No, I get that. Also, your kids aren't that. It's not like your kids are 18.
They're little.
They're little.
I do like scrambled eggs and just throw in some soy sauce. That's like the lazy version of, I mean, right? It's essentially eggs and soy.
Yeah. Same flavors.
Yeah.
You think your kids will be into them?
My oldest is like not super into hard-boiled eggs. I don't know why. Like hard-boiled eggs and watermelon, which I'm like,
oh. Interesting.
What kid doesn't like watermelon?
That's a whole meal.
I know. I was like, those are my 2 favorite things. Is like hard-boiled eggs and watermelon. But my youngest would be super into it because he likes eggs.
We have one of each of those children. Actually, the one that doesn't like eggs, she only likes them hard-boiled. So I take that back.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't.
I know, right? And then it's like the level of hardness. Like some kids don't like it kind of, jammy inside, which is my favorite. Like little jammy center. And then some won't like it, like my niece wants it like fully cooked through. That thing has to be like chalk inside. He's like, disgusting. I'm like, oh, but to each their own. Like,
has she had the other way though?
I don't know. But see, I get it. Like kids are weird about texture sometimes, so it's like funny or gooey. I
get too gooey is not appealing, but too chalky is really not appealing.
Yeah.
Do your kids eat a lot of Taiwanese food?
They do. We do quite a bit of Chinese food, Taiwanese food as our sort of like weekday, not a huge wide breadth of the cuisine. They have some of their favorites. So Lu Fan, which is like this braised pork dish. It's like sticky and savory. It's usually made with like the pork belly, but I do like a shortcut version for weekdays because that's the time to braise pork belly on a Wednesday.
What's the shortcut?
Using ground pork.
Ah.
So I use ground pork and use all the same like seasonings and spices, and I let it simmer for a while, and they eat that over rice. So they do like, and then there's like a Chinese dish. We were in Shanghai last winter, and we had these like scallion noodles that are simplest thing I've ever had. I actually had it in the airport in Shanghai, but my kids loved them, and I was like, oh, I got to figure out how to make these. It's like you just slice up scallions really thin, and then you fry them in some oil until they're like crispy and kind of dark. You take them out, put them on a little towel to strain, and then you have this like infused scallion oil. And you basically just add a mixture of just sugar, half dark soy sauce, half regular soy sauce. So it's almost like half and half. I keep it in a jar, shake it up. You put it over noodles and then put the crunchy like scallion bits back over it. And it's so good. It's like so simple. I just keep a jar of it in the fridge. You can dip chicken in it. I put like shredded chicken on top of it just for some extra protein for the kids. Nice. And they love it. It's
any noodle?
You could pretty much do any noodle, but in China, they're like these kind of thin, fresh noodle. I don't know what the name of it is.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Skinny noodle, fat noodle.
Yeah, skinny round noodle.
Okay.
Yes.
That sounds great. Sam, can we make that?
Sure.
We did buy a lot of green onions at Costco recently.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. You can try it.
A lot.
Oh, this is perfect then. You just have to chop up a bunch of scallions.
Some of them are pre-chopped because Sam was very diligent in processing a lot of those.
Wow.
I got 2 full bags in the freezer right now.
Oh, well, sounds like you guys are all set. You're making this dish.
I like this. I think our kids could get into this.
Yeah.
They like Chinese food or?
They do, yeah. Especially our oldest, she's 10 and her palate is expanding and she's really starting to get into like Asian food of all kind. We came back from Hawaii, a place known for its Asian food. And still she was like, I want Asian food, like as though she hadn't had it the whole week. And I was like, do you actually know what Asian food is though? Because we ate it like
a lot of it.
It was funny. And actually, as I'm saying this, I think that we should probably get the whole series of your books so that I can teach her what is what.
Yeah.
Because sometimes she's like, I want Japanese food. And she'll name something that's not Japanese. And I'm like, no, not that. Nope.
You got to educate them while they're young,
Yeah, a little bit. Like she knows what she likes to eat, but she doesn't always know exactly where it's from or what it's called. And she'll describe it. And I'm like, you're describing noodles. I need a little more to go on. What was the other dish that you were thinking of?
Oh, it's this braised oxtail dish. So oxtail, you guys know what oxtail? It's sort of like the tail, essentially, of a cow. But the great part about it is that you cook it for a very long time, and there's so much collagen in it that it creates this really sticky sauce. And I don't even know what I would call this dish. It's just my mom's. And of course, when I have her teach me how to make it, it's a little different every time. No measurements, no recipes, she's just sort of throwing in whatever, but it's sort of she uses ketchup and soy sauce and ginger and garlic, a lot of aromatics in it. She might put some carrots and big chunks of carrots into it or big chunks of daikon so that the whole thing braises and the carrots soak up all that really delicious sweet tomatoey. I don't know. It's like, for me, that dish is home. That is like my mom. My mom's not a really big cook either. It's so funny because both me and my sister are huge cooks. Like we cook a lot. We love cooking. And my mom's always like, how did I have you do? She really hates cooking. She doesn't like it. She kind of does have obligation. Yeah, she's not into like food even that much. But this is the one dish that she does that I'm obsessed with. I made it for my kids a lot now, but it's just almost a family recipe at this point. And then you put it over rice. And of course, the best part is just and eating, the little hunks of meat that you have to dig out of the bone of the oxtail. And then that gelatinous little caps on the end of the oxtail that you scrape off with your teeth. I'm getting really detailed, but that's I love that. I love that part of that. You got to work for your food.
You're really speaking Sam's language.
Yes, I love oxtails.
That's why I love crab, because I'm like, I get to, when people are like, I have to do this and crack this leg and get out all the meat. I'm like, that's my favorite part.
You're a real process girl.
I am. I like to work for my food.
Was your mom making this your whole life? Like, did she make this when you were a kid, or is this more of a...
Yeah. She's made this for a very long time now. Thus, it's always a little different.
A little different. How do you think that she, a person who does not like to cook, took on this seemingly kind of labor-intensive dish, or at least in the prep?
Yeah, I mean, I think by the sheer fact that you have to eat and you have to feed your children. And
sure, yes.
It just cooks, She doesn't enjoy it, though. So I think, like, she just, over many, many years of having to do this, was like, oh, okay, well... And she does, like, enjoy food, some foods, She's a little picky, but there's certain foods that she loves, and I'm sure she just had that dish, and was like, oh, I love it. And,
I was going to say, is this a thing that she likes to eat?
Yes.
Because that I could... Okay.
I just mean that she's she's a little pickier in terms of, like, she doesn't do raw fish or raw oysters, which is funny because me and my sister and my dad are the complete opposite. Like, we will eat anything and everything. Whenever we go out or we're traveling, we're always the first one signing up to eat whatever raw thing or, alley street food on an alley, you know, in Vietnam, and like street pho. And my mom's just like, she's just a little, you know, I don't do that stuff. Or like uni, you know, all that stuff we're all up for.
Where do you think your food adventurousness came from? Certainly not her.
No, not her. For sure, my dad.
Okay.
Hands down.
Did he ever cook?
Yeah, he cooked. Yeah, there's like some certain staples that he would always do or know how to make. So fish prepped in sort of the traditional Chinese way, where you put a bunch of aromatics like scallions and ginger and into hot oil, and you pour the hot oil on the top of the fish, and then you steam it. Any kind of seafood, he's the guy. Like he's just always any kind of seafood he's up for. So lately, it's really cute. This is my dad in a nutshell. This represents so much of who he is. So our local Whole Foods has a deal where it's $1 oyster on Friday mornings. So my dad has, number one, loves a deal. Number two, loves oysters. So he'll just he's retired. So he just shows up at my house and was like, I got a bunch of oysters. And he like has a bottle of sake and shucked oysters from Whole Foods. They're only $1. I was like, it's a Friday. I'm working.
Like it's 10 a.m., Dad.
Literally 10 a.m. And you have to get in line because there's a lot of people in line for the $1 oysters. So that's just, yeah. And now every Friday he's like, okay, you want to do oysters? You want to get oysters? I'm like, I don't know how many times I have to tell you I have work, but sure, come on over for lunch. Like he's just sitting in the backyard while I'm at my computer, like eating oysters by himself and just enjoying life.
That sounds sick as hell. I love that.
He could probably charge like $200 for this luxury service.
I know, right? It's like a DoorDash, but even better.
Yeah, it's an oyster dash.
It's an oyster dash.
Wait, I love this. This is I know your dad's retired, but maybe he comes out of retirement for his mobile oyster business.
Right? I know.
Sorry, I'm real on this mobile oyster. But I'm like, he could just come and he's got like a holster of hot sauces and he just slings them on the spot.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's so funny. He'll go to like H Mart and just get this like box of pre-cooked shrimp, you know, or just like random seafood, you know, at H Mart and just bring it over along with a bunch of oysters. He's just, you know, he doesn't have everything to him tastes good. So anytime I even make something, like the other day I made fried shrimp tacos. They were really good. And I, you know, but like anything that I make, he'll always say it's good. So I made it for him. He's like, oh, this is delicious. This is so good. Great. But I've never heard you say you don't like something. So that's, I'm like, is it really good? Or are you just telling me that? But he really is a fan of almost any kind of food.
I love it.
His whole side of the family is very much like that. Like my aunt, who's also a huge foodie. I feel like my introduction to cooking was through my aunt because she loves cooking. And so growing up with her, she would always introduce new recipes, and they lived in the UK for a while. And so she was like introducing me to these like French and British, you know, recipes, and then in Singapore for a while. And so we would go there and she would talk to me about like durian and like, oh my God, I love durian. It's so good. And have me try it and then take me to go eat like laksa. And her and my dad are my big food influences in life.
That sounds awesome. Is this how many of the books came to be at Gloo Books?
Yeah, so I know we do a lot of
talk about the series, Karen.
About food. Yeah, so A Very Asian Guide is a children's book series. It's a nonfiction book. So each book has a spread of a certain dish or sometimes an ingredient, but it's really a primer exploration for kids and adults, adults too, on a cuisine. And it has little fun facts kind of peppered throughout. So about the culture, the history. There's so many foods that we have that are cross-cultural too, and influences from imperialism or from a war. And so we touch upon some of these fun facts. There's some recipes in the back, but it's really an opportunity to give kids a peek into a certain culture or food. We now have Korean food, Vietnamese food, Indian, Malaysian, Singaporean, Japanese, Taiwanese coming out this fall, and Filipino. So those 7 books, and that series has done just really well. And we first came out with it with A Very Asian Guide to Korean Food. And that was actually our second book that we published. It's written by Michelle Lee. I always joke that there's a Michelle Lee fangirl, well, because so many people who love her. She's like such a wonderful person. But she is a journalist out of St. Louis. And she had this moment that she posted on social that went totally viral. it was during this sort of Stop AAPI hate and all of the stuff that was going around during the pandemic. And so she had talked about her Korean foods that she eats during the New Year on air. And someone called into the station, went on a big racist rant, called her all kinds of things, and that she should keep her Korean to herself. And she was being very Asian. And she recorded herself listening to this viewer leaving this voicemail, and she posted it. And then her journalist friend Gia Vang responded, I think maybe in a tweet or something, and put hashtag very Asian and shared dishes that made her very Asian. It's sort of this moment of reclaiming what would have been a really negative sort of racist response and turned it into something really empowering, and that just blew up. And so she started the Very Asian Foundation from that, which is a really incredible organization that supports and highlights AAPI organizations and efforts in the arts, school. They're doing a bunch of programming that's fantastic. And I got connected with Michelle because I initially sent her my book, What's That? Just to have her, she has a son that's around my son's age. And so at the time he was, I think, toddler. So appropriate for her to have that book. And she was like, oh my God, this is the first time that my son has pointed to the main character in that book and said, oh, Mama, that looks like me. And I think that kind of light bulb went off in her head about representation and how important that is for kids to be able to see that at such a young age. And obviously that's so much of why I started Gloo Books. And I just was like, you're having this huge moment. You're doing so much around Very Asian, and you're such an advocate for the Asian American community, but also any other community that has never really had a voice or been represented. So would you want to write a kid's book? And she was like, yeah. Can I? I said, yeah. So we sort of developed a Very Asian Guide in terms of its structure, initially with a Very Asian Guide to Korean food, which she authored. And then from there on out, of course, we came out with that book. And then so many people reached out and said, can you do a Very Asian Guide to this? Can you do a Very Asian Guide book to this? And we said, yeah, we got to keep this train going because there were so many people who loved it. So all the other subsequent books just came about because people wanted to see that cuisine represented. They kind of knew or felt the importance of what this Very Asian Guide represented for kids. And a lot of authors would reach out to us, or potential authors, saying, I would love to write this book. And so that's how we found the authors too, and kind of decided which cuisines we would do next. And so the latest book in that series is a Very Asian Guide to Taiwanese food. And yeah, that's coming out in a month.
I love it. Why food, though? It could have been culture, right? It could have been a lot of things. Why food?
So I feel like there's no better way to kind of break down barriers or having people who are very different from each other relate to each other than food. Even if you're eating foods that are totally different, I feel like there's always some element that you can relate to simply because food holds such an important place in all of our lives. You might not be a big foodie or call yourself a foodie, or might not cook very much, but food itself is obviously necessary for survival and living. But then also, it's tied to so much of our memories of who we were with kids. So even if your parents weren't big cooks, but you ate this one dish all the time, or you went out to this one restaurant and this one food is like a real memory for you, I think everyone can relate to that, at least on a, just how well traveled you are, or how much, how wide your palate is. It doesn't matter. Like, people understand that about each other. And then not only that, but food holds so much about our history, and we get to learn so much more about people and culture through food. And it's a great primer, it's a little great gateway drug to being more empathetic and compassionate about other people and learning where other people come from. And I love it because we really lean into that, obviously. And I think food is really important in that regard, not just for kids, because it's important for us to obviously show kids how other people live and other cultures, but even for adults. That's why I always say kids' books should not have an age limit. I feel like more adults should be reading children's books. They have such great messages. They have such the ability for you to also tap into your inner child. But I think there are a lot of topics that kids' books tackle in such a great way and understandable way.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of really accessible to anyone. Like, you don't need to be a great reader. I mean, I'm horrible. I don't read a whole lot of Books, I wish I did. It's more a time thing, and I'm not a really fast reader either, so it takes me a long time to get through like an adult book. Kids' books are so accessible and easy for adults.
I asked you why food, and then you proceeded to just explain why our podcast exists, which I didn't intend for it to be that, but I was like, this was rhetorical for me. I don't know. But yes, all of that. We agree with all of that. That's why this show exists. And so I was so glad to find basically a book form of what we're doing. And that's why I was so interested in Gloo and everything, all of the work that you're doing. And also, I think I've said this to you, but I think that if adults just read kids' books, we'd all be much better.
Yeah.
Like all of the messages in kids' books, they're to the point. They are not buried in, allegory and like pages and pages and, chapters to get to the lesson or whatever. And if we could all just internalize the messages of kids' books, maybe we wouldn't need these self-help books that just tell you to like yourself and accept yourself and be kind and, have empathy.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Something as basic as that. I can't tell you how many people have approached us or sent us emails or DMs saying, I literally cried when I read XYZ book. There's one called Mostly Me that's being biracial.
Mm-hmm.
That probably had the most emotional response from adults, grown-ups, saying, I wish I had this as a kid. I feel so seen.
Me nodding profusely, yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm crying reading this. It's healing my inner child. And so, when you hear things like that, that's when I'm even more convinced of what you're saying about how we should be reading more children's books.
What made you want to start this?
Honestly, it was having kids. Yeah, like I had my oldest son, and we were reading a ton of books to him. He loves books. Still to this day, bedtime is an hour long because he has a stack of books that he wants to read. So really obsessed with books. So we were reading a ton of books with him, starting from a very young age. And I just noticed, I was like, oh, wow, none of these children's books have Asian American boy characters as the main character, especially boys. I feel like that's very difficult to find. Mm-hmm. And it got me down this rabbit hole of trying to diversify his bookshelf, obviously get more books on his shelf that have Asian American characters, boy characters in an empowering way. So not your typical boys, but just sort of break down the gender stereotypes. So I was just trying to diversify it, and then obviously picture books that had different characters in them that didn't look like him, knowing that that's also really important as well. So once I got down that path, I thought, I've always wanted to write a kid's book. It's always been in like the back of my mind, even though I have no career in writing or publishing. And at the time I was looking to leave my job, which was at a law firm. And so law, you do a lot of writing, but it's definitely not creative. So that creative side of me was just sort of slowly withering away in this corporate office. And I really wanted to write a kid's book. And then once I went through that whole process and talked to a bunch of people and discovered more about the landscape of publishing and how gatekept it was and what an old traditional industry it is, I thought, well, if I'm going to do this for myself, I feel like I can utilize this opportunity to create a platform for other storytellers who have really important stories to get out there. And we know the audiences who want them, who need them, and we can provide a way to get those out there. So that's how Gloo Books all started. And Michelle was the second author that we published. So
that's amazing. That you did that in the span of like 3-4 years?
Yeah. So I started Gloo in 2021. So it's been 4 years.
Oh my God, Karen. It took us 3 years to launch this podcast. It's just an audio recording of us talking.
What?
You have dozens of books? Oh my God, Sam.
No.
You're failing.
No. Absolutely not. I think truly, I'm so anti-hustle culture now, by the way. I just FYI. There's no such thing as being behind. There's no such thing as not doing enough. You do what you do. Everyone has totally different life circumstances. I really hate that idea. Especially being an entrepreneur, I feel like it's very much you work hard and you accomplish and and girl bossing. I'm like, no.
Oh my God.
it's
I need girl napping culture. What's the girl napping culture?
resting, mom sleeping.
Yeah. Mom folds laundry with Netflix culture.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
But I think it's really easy to get into that mentality and sort of beat yourself up because you feel like, oh, I should be further along in my career, or I should be further along in my business, or all this stuff. And over the course of doing Gloo books, I've certainly had to battle with those voices, but I think even more so now where I'm at, I'm more and more convinced that rest and doing everything with intention, whether it's slower or faster than your counterparts, whatever, is the only way you will be able to actually accomplish what you set out to do. So it's a marathon, you just got to you're gearing up for a marathon and just you doing a little at a time, whatever you can put into it, you put into it. So that's how you keep going.
All right. I'm going to have to remember that one. What's next for Gloo books?
More books. So we have 2 books coming out in the spring, which I'm very excited about. They're 2 nonfiction books. I love nonfiction. We do fiction as well, but I really love nonfiction. So we have 2 nonfiction picture books. One about the history and science and culture of chocolate. So we explore that as an ingredient, which is really fun. Called Chocolate Unwrapped. And the other one is A Bike is Not Just a Bike. And that is a really great one that explores the history of the bike and what it meant for women in the 1800s. It was a tool of liberation for them because then they were no longer sort of chained to the house. They had basically a mode of transportation that allowed them to leave the home where a lot of their life was basically contained in at that time. A lot of what the bike symbolized too was the movement to get women the right to vote. So women were on bikes also, protesting and advocating for the right to vote. And the book sort of does a really great modern day tie-in to what that means for today's girls who have the freedom to ride. And it highlights a lot of modern day bicyclists who are women. And it's an awesome book. Very cool.
Okay. It's a hot take. I don't love a nonfiction kids book. I do. I like it, right? Because I think that it's very educational and it's very accessible. It's not that I don't like it. I just also really like, a Mostly Me or a story that has me low-key crying when my kids aren't looking on a fiction narrative.
I love fiction.
It's because sometimes I'll pick up a nonfiction that I'm like, this looks great. And then I'll bring it home and we'll start reading. And I'm like, oh, this is not what I thought it was.
Oh.
It just didn't sort of if I don't have time to read it in the bookstore first, then I'll just be like, oh, this, is a little bit more dense than I'd wanted or something. Your books don't do that.
Yeah. Thanks. Well, I think nonfiction for kids is tricky. It definitely requires an intermediary. So with fiction, the great thing about it, especially a picture book, you just read it out loud and then the kids are just sitting there listening to it. With nonfiction, I feel like it requires a little more. You, the parent or the educator, has to moderate that content a little more because them are super dense. So what I do with my kids is sometimes we'll just read a couple pages and we'll just kind of look at the pictures, kind of read the text. The goal isn't to try and get through the book in one sitting. You're reading in that sense, but also we're just kind of talking about it. So I might not read every single line to them because it can get really technical for some of the kids' books and
that part. Yes.
Yeah. I even skip over that sometimes just because I'm like, they're not going to, really know about it. But as long as they get the gist of it and they're kind of curious and I'm having to sort of prod them to be a little curious about it. That's what I like about nonfiction because it's them to explore a topic that they never knew about.
Fair. Okay. All right. You have convinced me.
Speaking of the pictures, how do you go about pairing the authors with the illustrators? We've talked to a couple of authors and they're always pleasantly surprised by the illustrations, and it almost seems like it's an extension of the vision in their head that they didn't know could exist.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit about that process?
Yeah, for sure. Children's books are picture books in particular are so interesting because usually the author and illustrator are separate people. So there's 2 aspects to the storytelling, the text and the images. And so the way we usually pick it is we'll usually start with the manuscript, almost always, get that to a really solid place. And usually by the when we do see an initial manuscript, we probably already have a certain style in our mind of what we think would be fitting. So it depends on the theme of the book, the tone of the book, and that will sort of shape who we look for in illustrator style. So we're just really looking at purely the style. And then we work with a few agencies. And then I just have a whole submissions folder and Instagram DM and saved folder of all of these illustrators that have reached out to us or that we've come across. And we've saved them just to say, I love the artwork. If there's ever a project that we feel like it would be a good fit, then we can have this person sort of in our pocket. And and then we reach out to illustrators that we think would be a good fit for the style. And Gloo Books, as the publisher, art directs and sort of manages that workflow and process because it's pretty involved and requires quite a lot of back and forth. The author usually is not super involved in that process. We try and keep that separate, mostly because we don't want too many cooks in the kitchen. It's sort of that issue. Yeah. But the author, obviously, we want their story to shine through. And a lot of that sometimes is through the visual. So a great picture book is the words and the pictures work together to tell the story, as opposed to the pictures just being a complete repetition of the words themselves. And so usually that'll be in the form of the author putting footnotes or their own illustration notes. When I wrote this line, this is what I really visually meant. I want this to be shown. And then especially with nonfiction, being accurate in depictions is incredibly important. So that is an aspect that we definitely rely heavily on, well, especially in the Variation Guide series. For each of the books, both the illustrator and the author are from that community. And we were very intentional about that because we really wanted the books to be authentic to those lived experiences. And so even the illustrator, they're depicting something in visual form that they have lived themselves, whether it's like a brand of rice that they would always eat, or that certain rice cooker, that iconic rice cooker that is on always in those households, So that was important for us. And then in general, in all of our other nonfiction books, we really want to make sure that the depiction is accurate. And there's a lot of cultural competency, I guess you could say, that is woven into the process to make sure we're being accurate and we're not offending anyone. That's the process, traders.
I love it. It's great. I don't know. Can I just gush at you for 10 minutes? Like, that feels inappropriate. But kind of how I feel. Like, I'm actually on your site now. I think I have your site open more than I realize. And I want to order everything for like a lot of different people in my life.
Yay.
Mostly us to begin with, but just I feel like I know so many people who I don't want to say would benefit from it, but definitely would appreciate it. I think would resonate with it. Some of them are not kids, don't have kids. Some are adults. Some are going to be new parents. And I feel like I wish we had some of these when we were new parents, right? Like, I mean, and it's not to say that there aren't other books that have Asian representation, but I feel like this is so accessible and in a way that, when we had like our first baby, I could have just read her little baby books, or we could have started with a very Asian guide. And so she would actually know the difference between Vietnamese and Chinese food sometimes when we're eating noodles, Penny. No, it's fine. But, like I have friends that are expecting their first baby, and I'm looking at the Baby Go series and they're big travelers. And I don't know, you tell me, I don't know if this exists anywhere else, but like I could not think of a more perfect gift for these people because, she's Filipino. They have traveled for most of their adult lives. They're having their first kid, and it just is so perfect. And like they've traveled all over Asia. And so I'm like, how did you know, Karen? How did you do this?
Well, I think it's because I'm a mom, I feel like so many, especially female entrepreneurs, so many of the businesses that they start address a gap in the market that they see because they are literally living and experiencing that gap. So for me, it was representation. So with Baby Go, I love that series so much. And I think the reason why it's done so well and people have really taken to it, great baby shower gift, like you were saying. It's definitely a really popular gift. It's a board book that explores early childhood concepts, so shapes, numbers, countings, what you would see age appropriate for sort of 0 to 4 range of kids, but through the lens of travel. So each book is a different country. So we have Japan, South Korea, China,
Thailand, Mexico, France.
And it's also a brief introduction to some foreign language. So the greetings and are all in the foreign language. So it's introducing bilingualism a little bit early to kids, which is a great time in that 0 to 3, 0 to 4 age. And I just feel like one of the first things to go to when you're a new parent, is travel. You just sort of are instantly homebound. And if you were a big traveler before, it's pretty hard to bring a tiny little baby around. Some people do it, but it has its challenges, and you also can't do the same kind of exploration as you could pre-kids. And this is a really great way to armchair travel, and just explore a country in 22 really beautifully illustrated pages.
And they are.
And can I do my plug now?
Yeah, I was going to say, and what is next in the Baby Go series, Karen?
Well, that's a great segue because Baby Go has always been focused on international countries. A lot of people were asking us, when are you ever going to do Baby Go in the US? Are you ever going to do cities or something? And that got us to think we should try and do a Baby Go series for the States. So we worked with the author who came up with the series and the illustrator, and we are launching this a little different, where this is our first Kickstarter that we're launching the production and manufacturing of the Baby Go US series. So we're starting with 3 states. The Kickstarter campaign is going to fund at least 2 of the 3 books, and the states are California, New York, and Texas. Those are the first 3 that we're starting with. And of course, if anyone who's listening to this is like, I'm dying to see this state, DM us, send us an email. We want to know sort of after these 3, which we want to do next. And it will be really purely based on demand and what we see.
Why?
And I know. Trust me, that's high on my list.
Okay, good.
So this is the first time we're using crowdfunding to basically fund the production of books. And some people might be like, why are you using Kickstarter? You're a publisher. You publish all these other books without using Kickstarter. There's sort of 2 main reasons. One, which is board books are surprisingly expensive to make. Would be shocked because they're so tiny and they're short, right? They're not really long, but the margins on them aren't super great. So you really got to sell a whole lot of them to really make any kind of money on them. But I love board books, and most people do, right? So for their kids.
This makes me think differently when I see the price of board books in stores.
Yeah.
Respect.
Shocking.
Okay.
And the second reason is, as this is sort of a little bit more about the publishing business, but it's a very capital intensive sort of barrier, lots of barriers to getting your book out in the market. And now that we are sort of traditionally published in the sense that we have a national distributor in the US and Canada, the whole system kind of requires us to publish books now or get them finished and completed. So meaning the illustration's done, the writing's done. So we've also paid for illustrators, art direction, editing, all that stuff, and even printing, because in some cases, we have to get copies really early on to send to PR and reviewers. All that has to be done almost like a year in advance. So that's a bunch of cash that we have out the door that we're not going to recoup for another year and a half, maybe if we're lucky. So that has all kind of changed our business model slightly. We entered into this distribution partnership in the beginning of this year. Before, we were purely a direct-to-consumer business. So the minute the book was done, we could sell it, which was great because we spent the money, then boom, we're starting to sell the book. Now we have this huge year gap in between spending that money and getting that back. So thus, the combined factors of low margins and just cash flow management. Yeah. We were like, let's try to do this as a Kickstarter. And there's so many states to cover, and we really just want to do whatever people want to see. So what better platform than crowdfunding to sort of gather that information from? So the Kickstarter will be launching August 18th. It'll be live for 30 days. If you back the Kickstarter, super cute. There's some illustrations. You can see a little peek into what the books look like. You can vote on which state you want to see made, and we'll do 2 of the 3. If we reach our stretch goal at the end of that campaign, we'll make all 3, of course.
Nice.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I just learned a lot about publishing.
Yes.
But no, everybody go kickstart this because the Baby Go series is adorable. I have it open. I'm about to add to cart with a few other things to give us gifts. There's so much to love about Gloo books and you, Karen, and I don't know. I just, again, me sort of gushing at you virtually through the screen about all of the good work that you do and how I wish that I had this growing up and how I wish I had this 10 years ago. And I'm so very happy for people that get it now.
Well, can I say that I'm so happy you guys are doing basically the same version except in podcast form?
Thank you.
I'm so glad you found this community.
You know, so are we. And let's do more together.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, look, listeners, we've already recorded these episodes. We're doing one to sort of launch or help to launch a very Asian guide to Taiwanese food. The author, illustrator, Nancy and Felicia, they're delightful. That episode's going to be great.
Yes.
You also have a book, Marty Dares to Dance, Harry Shum Jr. and his wife, Shelby Rabara. You know what? I should say Shelby and her husband, Harry, now that I think about it.
That's right. She is a superstar.
She's a superstar.
She really is.
They're both great. It's not like I like her, but I like them both. They're both amazing.
They really are.
We have an episode coming out with them too. Their book is great. I don't think I've seen a book that you've made, Karen, that I was like, no, not for me. It's bad.
Oh, yeah.
Go find them wherever you can.
Like my deepest fear, I'm always like, oh my God, will people like this? We've worked months and months on this book, so.
I mean, right? Like how do you do that? Just the idea that you're like, I've invested a lot of time and energy and money into this one project. What if no one likes it?
Yeah,
like that seems crippling to me.
It's always
sorry.
No, I know. It's always this voice in the back of my head that is the totally not based in any form of reality. I think everyone has it, right? You know, and especially with artistic choices. So things that are very subjective. You tend to just start to being like, oh my God, was I just crazy for 6 months thinking like this was going to be awesome and beautiful and I love it and I love the story. We're going to greenlight it. We're going to put money behind it. Totally gung-ho. And then suddenly one day you just wake up and you're like, I don't know, maybe I made a huge mistake, you know?
Maybe it's bad.
Yeah. You're like, oh my God. You just kind of have to have some distance from it to know that that's your own voice in your own head. And the reality is not everyone is going to like everything that you do. That is just the truth. Everyone has an opinion. We're coming out with a book called The Fib in fall. It's amazing. It's a fiction book about a little boy who tells a lie that spins out of control into this monster. It's so good. And we have it on NetGalley, which is a publishing thing. People don't really know about it, but essentially a lot of reviewers can get a review copy of the book and leave their reviews. And it's been tons of positive reviews, like 5 stars, 120 reviews. And you'll always get those stragglers, right? And we were just talking to the author yesterday about how well it's done on NetGalley. People are loving the book. We love the book, obviously. And there's always that like those, small handful of people who are like, we'll find kind of anything to not like about it. Not to say that it's objectively that good. How could you possibly not like it? But especially works that are art based, that are creative. Not everyone's going to like it, and that's okay. Not everyone should like everything. That's not the goal, is to get everybody to like it. And there's a whole discussion in publishing too, in my opinion, with books around what is good in terms of if you want to talk about quality and good writing and whatever versus what sells. And those two are definitely not the same. So it's really good doesn't mean it's going to be a bestseller. And you know this because you've read books that are on the New York Times bestseller list or they're on the front stand of a bookstore. Clearly it does well. So you pick it up and you're like, this is awful. Like I can't even get through it,
That is true.
Yeah.
So that's the work of, marketing and PR and whatnot. And sometimes just sheer luck. It's just sometimes there is no why is this successful and why is this not successful. It's purely the universe and how it works and timing and just people being in the right place at the right time and things happening in the right place at the right time.
Well, we would like to do our very small part in making all of your books wildly successful because they are great.
I so appreciate it. I think they're great too. So yeah, I picked them.
And on that note, Karen, this was amazing. I think you and I for sure could and probably will just keep talking about a lot of stuff that, maybe is a second episode or maybe is just 2 moms working for nap culture offline.
We didn't even talk about parenting,
We didn't talk about parenting. We talked about kids eating a little bit.
Yeah.
But, parenting. Should we start a parenting podcast? Should we do a parenting book?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I could talk about parenting forever because I feel like there's so much, when you're a parent yourself, there's just so much to talk about with. And every phase of the child's life,
Yeah.
Brings new.
Let me pitch you in the moment. I don't know where this is going. It's a parenting book that parents read to their kids. It's basically like watching an episode of Bluey where the kid is seeing themselves as the kid and the parent gets to see themselves as the parent and everybody is happy and crying in the end. But like an Asian parenting version of that. I don't know what the story is, right? But just a thing where I'm reading at night and my 5-year-old is like, haha, that's me. That's us. That's so great. And I'm like, that is me. That is us. Oh, we're doing fine. We'll workshop it.
Yeah. I like
something
that.
there. Karen, where can people find Gloo books?
At gloobooks.com if you want to order directly through us, but wherever books are sold. So libraries, schools, bookstores, you can ask the bookstore owner if they carry our books. If they don't, please request it because that always helps us. And the bookstore owner will go and stock our books.
Mm-hmm.
But I won't name the online giant retailer that you can definitely get books at, but they're also on bookshop.org.
Bookshop. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is me plugging On Waverly for like the 100th time on this show. But I know that On Waverly carries a number of your books, and we'll be doing some book launch events in the fall.
We will, and you'll hear more about that on the next podcast episode.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps one of the future ones featuring Nancy and Felicia.
Yeah. Where can people find the Kickstarter so they can kickstart it?
Go to Kickstarter.com, and it'll be under the children's publishing, so book campaigns. And if you actually just search Kickstarter Baby Go US, there's a whole hyperlink with a bunch of numbers. I'm not going to read it out.
Yeah.
So if you just go to Google Kickstarter and Baby Go US, it should pop up, and that's where you can go. And the first 2 days we're doing early bird, so you can get certain rewards at a discount price, fund and back for the first 2 days.
That's awesome. Listeners, if you would all like to make tea eggs, there is, in fact, a recipe in the back of A Very Asian Guide to Taiwanese Food that is out September 16th. You can pre-order. I'm sure you could find one online, but it's a great book. You might as well get the recipe for tea eggs from that book. And then, I don't know, Karen, if we can sneak a recipe out of your mom for oxtail or from you.
Oh, I have it. Yeah. I make it all.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll work on that. And then I think, Sam, can I assign you to make us this oxtail? Because it sounds very much up your alley.
Sure.
Sam, the cooker, the cook of the...
A little bit. I don't even say that it's 50-50 anymore because it's not.
There's always one that does majority. It's fine, though. That's how, you can't have someone's got to be the chef and in control of the kitchen.
Yeah. I do. My only saving grace is I will do a holiday.
Okay.
Like I'll spend 5 hours one day and then,
That's super stressful.
It is.
Especially people visiting and stuff.
Yeah. All right, Karen, again, thank you. This is great. Well, I could talk to you forever. Listeners, go fund the Kickstarter. Go buy all the Gloo books. I know I will. And if you would like to find us, you can find us at worstqualitycrab.com. You can find us on Instagram at worstqualitycrab. And you can email us at worstqualitycrabpod@gmail.com. Until next time, we'll talk to everybody later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.